Have you ever put a match together and thought, that's probably a 7-minute match, but when you're actually in the middle of the match, you get told that you have like 2 minutes left, and now you're thinking, oh, we haven't even done half of our spots. How did this happen? And you're gonna be surprised, but there's a pretty simple reason for it. This is going to be for beginner pro wrestlers who are either having camp matches or getting ready to start having live matches in front of crowds. I always put my match together by beginning with the end. I always start with the finish, and I work backwards from that. If the finish is pretty straightforward, as in it's just a pinfall, then my job is pretty easy. I won't have to worry about interference, I won't have to worry about someone missing their cue. I get to focus on the storytelling of the actual match. And I have about 3 years of experience before COVID, so I usually get to work with a lot of talent that just aren't sure of their character yet. And this usually means they're gonna go too fast and then not sell. It isn't their fault though. The adrenaline while in the ring is like lightning hitting a volcano. It's freaking awesome. I did it too though. I rushed a lot. Still do sometimes. I was in Fargo, North Dakota, and I was working for a promotion that would crash and burn within like the next year or something, called Fully Loaded Wrestling. And come to think of it, I never got paid for the last 2 matches I had with them. Anyway, you always want to work with people who are more experienced and those with different experiences than yourself. It challenges you to come up to their level. It's different than working the same camp match with the same camp people having the same camp style of matches. I was working with someone who had more experience than me as a babyface, and if you don't know what that means, I got 2 words for you.
Are you ready? Break it down!
Google it. It was a pretty straightforward match in terms of the finish. I would just lose to their submission. But they wanted to do a few other extracurricular activities, if you will. And it was my first and last time doing those things. Not fun. They suck. Especially on the ride home. We were talking through the match in a very conversational way, or at least I was. They stopped me in the middle of calling it back to them and asked, why are you calling this so calmly? Did I call something wrong? Or are you ribbing me? I was pretty familiar with them, so I wasn't exactly sure because it was my first time actually working with them. I confusingly said, I'm just trying to remember the spots. They asked, do you think the Young Bucks call their matches like that? Super kick. Sell to the corner. Get up. Feet around. Wait for the next spot. No, they call it like this. Super kick. 1, 2. I didn't get it. I'm calling the spots. Why should it matter how I call them? I'm a pretty introverted person. I don't really do that. And they gave me this little nugget of information that you only get working with other people who are more experienced than you. So they said, when you're putting this stuff together in the back, you're kind of reenacting how you'll be performing in the ring. If you go through it super calmly and boring without any enthusiasm, it shows in the ring. But if you get your mind ready to perform, then it shows in the ring as well. It was like a light bulb went off in my head. Those aha moments that your coaches always talk about. No one at any of my camp matches, no one in my local area was calling matches like that to me. So this is exactly what I talked about earlier when I said rising to their level. I knew exactly what they meant, but it actually helped me in more than one way. A while later, putting a match together, I realized I didn't have to rush to the next spot. I could let that moment sink in with the audience, let everyone see what's happening. I could emphasize the emotion, the reaction, the selling of each move and create moments for the audience. And it doesn't have to be the typical YouTube face of, I can't believe he kicked out at 2 even though everyone always does. It can be a moment where you got overpowered and didn't expect it. It can be you mocking your opponent because you're the better wrestler even though they're the good guy. There are many ways to skin a cat, I think. When we're born, our parents make faces at us. Smiling, silly, angry, confused, whatever. They don't even realize this, but they're teaching us to understand emotions. But you're wondering,
Keith, what does this have to do with wrestling?
unless you're my kids, you probably won't know what an armbar feels like until wrestling school. Or your cousin breaks your arm. Whatever comes first. How can we expect the fans to know what an armbar feels like? We sell the move the same way it would feel. Simple, right? Well, it actually goes beyond that. We can sell these moments of our matches with emotion. They don't have to understand our moves. They can understand the emotion. But They have to be able to see our faces, our body language. I can't wait until you get the realization of slowing down to make less mean more, the same way I did. If you try this the next time you're putting a match together, or if you even want to make up a match by yourself, I'm sure you'll begin to grasp this concept. I hope I made you a better pro wrestler. See you in the heat.